Hello? Is this thing on? Ooh. What's up, guys? Who've missed it? TheSirenSayz back at it again with another video. So I just watched Disenchanted, and this is not going to be long because the movie was up and it was down. And it was only up in the first quarter, then down the second quarter, which doesn't usually happen very often nowadays. Usually, I'm like, bleh with the movie and then it gets better later on. Or it was just good the whole way through. There isn't really it was good in the beginning and then it tapered off, but that's kind of what happened. So I'm just going to tell a little bit of the story and then I'm going to go character by character and then we're done. So non-spoiler review, it was a cute 5 out of 10. What would have put it up to a 6 was Prince Edward's performance, because James Marsden is just that nigga and he carried this entire movie on his back with Idina Menzel. So yeah, so this is a story about Giselle again. We're continuing from a couple of years, I think about 9, 8 years later. I don't think it's 10. It could be, I don't think it is. She wants to move because she feels like the spark is coming out of her life. Everything's going crazy, and really all this just going crazy is a normal life. Like, their apartment was too small because their family was growing, and Morgan is a teenager, so there are certain things that she just does not care about anymore, and you know, just little sparks that dull a little bit as you get older, that yeah, you can reignite them, but it's not like the end of the world. You know, it's not like their marriage was getting bad and she was going to divorce, and you know, Morgan was becoming this rebellious teen that would never do anything that was asked. Like, it wasn't that serious. So I feel like her wanting to move them to a whole nother place was a little okay. But it was for the plot, so it's fine. So the plot is they move because she feels like it will bring the spark or the magic back into their lives. And they end up moving into this place that's, you know, it's just suburbia. But, you know, that suburbia wasn't perfect. You know, it kind of proves my point. Moving wasn't going to change the problems. It kind of just accentuated some of the problems and made certain things worse. So she ends up getting some magic and being able to change that, and in lieu of her changing that, she ends up hurting everybody and making a whole bunch of mistakes, and everything goes terribly wrong, and then it has to get fixed. Spoiler alert, it gets fixed, but that's about it. So that's the story. It's practically Midlife Crisis the musical. So, but done in a worse way. So let's talk about character by character. Let's get into Morgan first, because I need to defend her. Before I watched the movie, I saw a little bit of discourse. I don't know if it was a lot of people or not, but it was like a little trend where people didn't really like how Morgan was portrayed. And so I came into watching this thinking that she was going to be bratty and itchy with a bee and, you know, all those things, you know, like just an over stereotyped version of a teen. I was expecting all of that. But then, like, as I was watching, it was like, yeah, she was a little moody, but it was all understandable. And I'm not a teenager anymore. So it's not like, oh, I completely get where she's coming from. However, I can relate to moving around a lot and how difficult it is to make friends when you're in new environments constantly. Because I'm constantly in new environments and I'm constantly moving around a lot. So I definitely related to how difficult that was. I didn't really see what was wrong with Morgan. So her side, she didn't want to move. I mean, things were already getting hard for her with puberty and growing up. This move, moving her away from everything she knew, was not helping. And her mom, Giselle, wasn't understanding. And her dad wasn't getting it either. The dad just tended to go with whatever Giselle wanted, which is a little weird. I think we'll get into him later, but I just thought it was a little bit of a character shift. It was slight, but I noticed it and I don't really like it. So, you know, Morgan, she would get a little pouty. But she would never be outrightly rude until that one time when she blew up at her because she embarrassed her at school. So that's what I'm saying. Like, even the times that I feel people would bring up and be like, yeah, but why should you do this? It's like, yeah, she did that because Giselle embarrassed her at school. And of course, we have the foresight to know for sure that she didn't mean it in a bad way. And I'm sure that Morgan knew that, which is why she didn't blow up at her at school. When she got back home, it was like, nah, I'm done with this, right? Morgan comes to this new school. Her clothes, and here's why I'm defending Morgan. Morgan is upset. She wants to go home, and she keeps saying that. But then they show her a room, like a room that's really cute. You know, it's giving a little fairy tale, but it's cute, and she can decorate it however she wants. And there's little mementos of her childhood that are sentimental for her, and she likes it. And she goes up and she hugs Giselle, and she says, "Thank you, this is beautiful." So it's like she's not completely unreasonable. She's just uncomfortable with the move. It's going to take some time. So, you know, then she goes to school, but, you know, the greatness of her new room is ruined because her clothes get burnt up. Then she has to sleep with her parents, and then there was a disastrous morning with cooking because, you know, the appliances weren't working right. Then she has to go to school wearing some of her mother's ridiculous clothing, which, you know, is cute for her because it's giving fairy tale housewife, but it's not cute for a teen. So she got a little bit of bullying off that, like they're making fun of her a little bit. But even with that outfit on, she still caught the attention of the hottest guy in town, Mr. Monroe, Malvin's son, Ted Monroe, I think his name is. And so things were starting to look up a little bit. But after Giselle embarrassed her, she was kind of like, oh my God, I'm so upset, right? So that was kind of her throughout the whole movie. But then after Giselle's wish, she kind of just became this happy camper sort of person. So they kind of just like gave her an arc that was intriguing and understandable, and then they just kind of threw it away a third of the way into the movie for the magic plot, which I didn't really like. So Morgan, she's okay, but I preferred her in the beginning. And not because she was being a little bratty, but because I could understand it. Them just kind of throwing that away, they could be like, well, Giselle made a mess, and so let everybody's attitude has to reset. Like, it doesn't really make much sense to me. Let's get into Giselle's husband and Morgan's dad, Robert, played by Patrick Dempsey. Nigga looking real old. Where all the Grey's Anatomy fans at? I didn't really like it. In the original movies, what made him and Giselle work so well is that they didn't really have to give up their ideologies. They had to bend their ideologies so they could come together. He didn't just do whatever she said. He would sometimes follow her within reason, right? And if it is that she ran off somewhere and he had to end up protecting her, he would try to see the positives in the situation. He wouldn't just do whatever she says without thinking about it logically. Now, of course, she has been in New York for a while, so she has more common sense than she used to have. But it's like just moving them away and not caring about Morgan in that. I don't know, it just seemed a little uncharacteristic. I feel like he definitely would have taken Morgan's thoughts into a little bit more consideration than he actually did. And I was just kind of weirded out as to how he just didn't do that. And then once the magic was turned on, he just kind of tried to be like Prince Edward and failed. Or King Edward, I guess it's King Edward. He just kind of tried to be like King Edward and was failing. I thought it was interesting. I mean, with his last interaction with him, it was kind of like, oh, your life must be unfulfilled because you're not saving people. You know, he's like a divorce lawyer, so it's kind of like the opposite of saving things to them. But yeah, that was kind of his role. He was kind of minuscule. It was sad because he has such a bigger role in this story, and this kind of minimized him here, but it's alright. Next, let's go to Idina Menzel's character. Cute. I like that she got more screen time than she did in the original show. Did you hear the vocals? Like, especially when the memory magic was swirling all around Morgan and she went in there and she started hitting them notes. Chills. I remember, I thought so too after I found out who Idina Menzel was. One of the biggest travesties of the last movie, or the first one, was that they didn't make her sing. Like Disney, this is a musical. Why you have singers in here that aren't singing? Think. But yeah, they made up for it. I appreciate that. But yeah, Idina, she was, she came in clutch and she helped out. Let's get to Prince Edward. He was the best part of this show, apart from Morgan. When she said that magic was just a concept, he was just like, what? if you want a better word, you gotta change it. He's like, you can't do that. She's like, hogwasher it. I'm sorry. It's really not that funny, but I thought it was funny. I loved it. He was my favorite part of this whole thing. And yeah, he would bump it up to a 6. So let me just say hard 5, soft 6 is the rating. I guess I'm going through this pretty quick. I guess I'll talk about the characters, not talk about the story and what I thought about the story. Miss Monroe, or Mal Monroe, she was okay. I liked that in the beginning there was a bit of a duality. Like, she didn't seem completely evil. She just seemed like she was the head of the town and she was comfortable in that position, and so it came with a bit of an ego trip. Of course, you know, once the magic turned on, it wasn't, the depth was gone. She was just that bitch. Yeah, she was just a regular evil character who changed her mind after the magic turned off. That was just it. Her son seemed to be pretty nice. You know, he seemed to not be a mean person, and that stayed true throughout the whole thing. And he seemed to be interested in Morgan before and after the magic, and that stayed throughout the whole thing. So he was just a constant, barely there, whatever. He's just there about that. He was just there. I don't know if I wish they gave him a little more to do, because there are characters that they should have given more to do, but he was just there. It's okay. Is that all the characters that matter? Oh, Pip was there. He was trying to help her do the right thing, but then ended up succumbing to the magic as well. Sucks. Let's get into Giselle, and then I'll get into the story, and then we're done, guys. I kind of liked Giselle at the beginning as well. Like, a lot of what she said was hitting, you know, like, it's got to be more than just Morgan growing up, is what she said. You know, I'm not singing the right songs anymore. She literally felt inadequate as a mom. She felt like, you know, like, I'm just not doing enough. I used to be really good at things, like surprisingly good at grown up stuff, and now it's like I'm failing. And that was nice. That was a nice message, but I feel like the whole magic thing just erased all of that and invalidated the deeper themes that they had started with, and it's a little disappointing, just a little bit, to be honest. But yeah, she decided to become evil stepmother, and I think that concept is a little bit interesting. Like, seeing her become evil stepmother was kind of fun. It was fun in parts, but then it just got a little like, yeah, okay. It's like, ooh, being evil is fun. It just really went back to like the part of Disney that people love to act like is most of Disney. But yeah, let's get to the story. Giselle was a little selfish, but selfish in a dense way. Like she wasn't trying to be selfish on purpose. It was like she meant well, but like all of the things that she was trying to do to solve the problem were just things that would have been good for her. So, you know what, in terms of the story, I'm glad that everything fell back on her, but it was kind of dumb. Like, how is moving to a place that's more like Andalasia supposed to help your entire family and not just you? I did kind of like that it showed that she was homesick in a way, but you could have just had her visit Andalasia for a little bit. Like, isn't she allowed to do that? She's a modern woman. I feel like if they can bounce around from place to place, she can go back to Andalasia, like take a month off with her daughter, stay in Andalasia under the comfort of her ex and her friend, and then come back home. I don't think she needed to like move her family to a place that was more Andalasian. You know what I mean? And so like the whole story just kind of happened in a way that it didn't need to. The most egregious thing I'll give about Morgan is when she got so upset that she said, "You're not my mom, you're my stepmom." And I'm like, you could see that was forced. Because for the most part, everything Morgan said made sense and you could empathize. But when she started being really extra and saying, "You're not my mom, you're my stepmom," it's like, you could tell that was just the forcefulness of it. And you can't really blame her for that. It's just the writing. But like Giselle, like she thinks moving's gonna solve everything, and then she gets the magic and she decides that she wants this place to be just like Andalasia. Like, good enough wasn't enough for her, and because things weren't getting better fast enough, she wanted things to get better so fast that she just wanted instant gratification. And I think that is what, you know, really propelled her forward and made things really bad. So long story short, after she comes to with this magic stuff, she ends up becoming a little evil and cruel, and that's like a side effect of it. I think the problem with this is that it had some really good ideas and deeper themes, but they threw it away to add some magic plot. And I think they thought they were being necessarily original, but entertaining and somewhat different with some of the tropes they brought up there. Like, oh, there's usually only one villain, but here there's like one and a half or two, and you know uh, it's like they were trying to add nuance, but they really didn't. The nuance ended up being thrown away, and so like I feel sorry for this story because it really wasn't giving what they thought it gave. Like it had some really good ideas, but like. Oh, I feel like this story was a really good idea, but it was just done poorly. Like, it went from good to meh. Like, I was really feeling the story in the beginning. I was like, "Ooh, this is kind of interesting. Okay, let's see what's gonna happen." Like, even though some of the songs weren't hitting, but when she made more Monroeville, Morlasia, and she kept hitting them damn near whistle tones. She kept hitting them in that town song. I was like, girl, you were doing the most. I kind of like that. Like, let me not show this movie entirely. There were some cute parts, but like the overall theme was so deep and rich, and there was so much plot there. And with the added measure of us already knowing these characters, there was so much that they could have done and so much that they were doing, but then they just kind of stopped it halfway for the Magic Wand storyline, and it kind of ruined it, to be honest. Yeah, so that's why this is a 5. If you want to watch it, you can. I don't think it's a waste of time, but it's definitely a wasted opportunity, if you get me. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. See you in the next one. Probably gonna be Black Adam. Anyways, goodbye, my sires. Soo-soo.